The Andy Mechanic Workshop. It's very cold this morning. I got back home yesterday about lunchtime. Why are you doing that? Stupid phone. There we go. Okay, ignore that. Slight technical glitch. Yes, got back home about 12 o'clock yesterday after driving back from Auckland, and the previous day flew back from Sydney, but more about that shortly. Time for a cigarette. Orientation is locked for a day's. Oh God, honestly, this phone is useless. Right, so I'm going to log in. Bear with me. Bit of a refreshment going on. There we go. That's what we're after. Okay, let's see who's in the workshop. Jim K, hello. Good morning, Jim. Thank you for your phone conversation while I was in Sydney. It was most welcome. Purple Monkey 1974. Hi, man of many words. Roger Heaps. Good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Roger. Welcome back to the workshop. And Richard Perry, all the way from the UK. Big thumbs up. Thank you, Richard. Richard says, hi, Andy and crew. Hope all are well. Well, to be perfectly honest, I am well. I feel quite healthy at the moment, which is nice. I've had a bit of a snivel earlier in the week. But I'm pretty knackered. I'm pretty sure I can talk about this because it helps promote what what Yamaha feel about their technicians and how they are very grateful and proud of their technicians around the world. Is the Oceania, can never pronounce it right, Tech GP in Sydney, Australia occurred earlier this week, actually. Wednesday was the actual challenge with the techs. Now, normally it's run every 2 years, but it hasn't been run since 2019 because, well, of the big C, right? It made huge disruptions around the world, and it put the whole thing on hold for a lot longer than we thought it would do, actually. But we're back on track, and it was a fantastic week. 10 techs participated in the Oceania competition. 2 of them from New Zealand, which is fantastic. I'm not going to give you the results because I think that'll be released at some point. They know who they are, or they know who they are, yes, whoever won. Very, very tight, first and second. That's all I'll say. Very, very tight. New Zealand lads, not entirely sure where they came because I've not seen the overall scores. I've only seen who won, who came second, and who came third. But they all tried extremely hard. The challenges were the technical challenges, of which sort of on the tools, so to speak. I believe there were 7 or 8 of those. Very difficult, actually. Mine was task number 9. Not going to tell you what the task was about. Not at the moment. It's too soon, but I will in the future. Charging system, but not your normal charging system, okay? No, much more modern and more complicated. And it was really interesting to see how they went about identifying the type of charging system and then implementing the appropriate diagnostic techniques. It was very good, actually. And I had to do a crash course on said charging system the day before the event because I'm like, really? Okay, need to learn up on that one. So I know a lot more about it now, which is great. So more on that regarding the Tech GP very shortly. Let's see what else is in the workshop. Mr. Rawle, Simon Rawle, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, Simon. Hope you're all well over there. The Real Daz, morning Andy and crew. JJ, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. So I've sent Mrs. Mechanic off to go and find me a pie. It is really cold this morning. I believe there's a rat up there in the roof, or it could be a bird living in the void between the old roof and the new roof. Can't quite tell. Whatever it is, it's pretty big. So you might hear some scuffling around shortly. Okay, so we've got everybody in the workshop now. So basically, last week, sorry, well, sort of earlier this week, really, wasn't it? Sunday, I planned to go up to Auckland about 2 o'clock, 3 hour, 4 hour drive, not too bad. Get to the hotel because I had a very early flight. I had to check in at 6 a.m. and it was just not possible to drive from home at 2 o'clock in the morning. Dangerous, not going to happen. It would have made Monday a ridiculously long day. So pleased that I made the decision not to do that. So checked in, got on the plane, 9 o'clock flight. Got into Sydney about 10:30 Australian time, and they're 2 hours behind, so it's about a 3.5 hour flight. And then got whisked down to the offices and spent the afternoon catching up with the lads, the staff, boss, another boss, Trevor, and a few others. Sort of got a head round around the event, the Tech GP, the schedule, what was involved, a couple of small meetings, and then released to the hotel at about 5 to 5, I think it was. We got away, got to the hotel, had a really shitty evening meal. Sorry, Atura Hotel, it was crap and expensive. The beer was all right there. Early to bed because I was absolutely knackered, and it was about. You hear that? That was pretty big, whatever it is. Um, so got to bed about 9:30, which would have been my 11:30. So it was a long day from getting up at 5 a.m. to get out the door. And Tuesday was a setup day, so we had to be on site for, I don't know, 8 o'clock. I think it was. Yeah, 8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that. Some sort of normal time. No, 8 o'clock. Had a meeting straight into some training, actually. A new system that they're implementing. So we had a good hour and a half's training, which was interesting, confusing, and well, the program didn't work very well. So they've got a few bugs to sort out. Got a meeting on Tuesday about that. And then it was really get to grips with my task and get my bay set up with all the tools and equipment, service manual, all that kind of stuff for the tech. So I got all that done and very quickly came to realize that I needed to learn a bit more about the charging system on that particular bike. I won't tell you the bike, I'm sure you'll work it out. So I managed to find some papers from the factory about that, which was really good. I'm going to read them again. And I want to get my scope on the bike to see what's really going on. The instructions or the papers they didn't completely cover how the system worked. So I've still got a bit of knowledge that I want. I'm pretty sure I've got an idea of how it works now. But I want to validate that with the scope. So I've got a bit of work to do on that at some point. Hey, Connor K. Morning, Andy and crew. Sorry I missed the live stream 2 weeks ago. I was visiting relatives in the US. Wow, back in Portugal now. Simon, Mr. Rat is back. I think he is, and he's a big one. I think some more rat blocks, anti-rat blocks will be called for, I think. I'm not sure whether he's between the tin of the old roof and the paper, the black paper, or is on top of the roof in the void. I don't know. If he jumps down, I'll grab the camera and we'll see if we can catch him. So then the next day, so we got finished. That's right, because the text flew in that afternoon. Got back to the hotel about 5:30, 6. Techs had just arrived. One of the planes was dramatically delayed. My two techs from New Zealand were there, so we had a beer, bit of a catch up, and then we had a meal, which was I just had a pizza. It was all right. It wasn't great, to be perfectly honest, and extremely expensive for what it was. And then it was early to bed for everybody. Well, off early for me at least. I was knackered. And then it was a very early start Wednesday. Had to be on site for 7 a.m. So we had to leave at 6:30 from the hotel. By this time, a lot of emails and phone calls had all been piling up from my normal duties. So I had a few of those to deal with first. So again, very early start, a few phone calls, jump in the ute, get to work. And then really, I won't say mad panic, but there's a lot of people running around getting the last bits done. Got it all sorted out. We were all good to go. We were on schedule. Uh, and basically, there's 10 tasks. One of them's a quiz, one of them's a interview, and the rest of them are on the tools. And it was pretty good, actually, up until about lunchtime. We all had pizza for lunch. Oh, just had pizza. Um, but we started to fall behind on the schedule a little bit. Those kind of events are run to the minute. They are really tight schedules because you've got 10 techs all moving around the various tasks. They had 25 minutes per task and then 10 minutes off the task to recover, get the head cleared, ready for the next task. During that 10 minutes, as soon as the task was finished and the down tools, I wanted to do like a post-test interview very, very quickly. A couple of minutes tops is all I had, and really get to understand if the tech hadn't fully diagnosed the fault at that point and identified where the fault was, then I wanted to ask them a few questions about where they're at. What do they think is the next check to do at that point in time? What do they believe the fault to be, and justify why? And they all carried points, so we're busy, running through that. Tech had a couple of questions to fill out on a sheet, and then in they'd go. I then had the bike to put back together, and in some cases, there were many parts off the bike that had been, mainly panels, that had been taken off, taking modules off and bits and pieces to do various testing. So I had 8 minutes to reset, sometimes even less, provided we got the 10 minutes. Now, as the day went on, we found that we were running behind schedule by a few minutes. So what they do is they reduce the downtime. That 10-minute period got reduced to about 5 minutes. It was manic. It really was. I wouldn't say throwing the bike back together, but I was having to work extremely quickly to get all the bits and pieces put back on and be reset, ready for the next tech. I did. There was a couple of times when I was only just got it done. I was just putting the last screw in as the tech turned up. Very important that the bike's completely back to sort of standard set conditions. I'd taken the seats off because techs know how to take seats off. I'm not going to waste time doing that. They're not there to be tested on that. That saved them a little bit of time, but yeah, it's important that it's fully back to standard, because otherwise they'll see panels off and go, "Oh, the last guy took that panel off, maybe I should go in there." It sort of gives them a heads up, and that's not how it works. Anyway, we got finished about 3:30 with a very quick debrief. We were supposed to go around each of the tasks for the text to be explained by the rep, by the person running the task, what the fault was and the official test procedure, or the best way of testing it to identify the fault. That was scrubbed. We didn't have time for that. We had to get on a coach and we got whisked off to Taronga Zoo. Very posh place, to be honest, in Sydney, just by the waterfront there. Fantastic view of the city on a night. It was an amazing place. And we had a meal that night. And where did we eat? Jeez, did we eat at the hotel? I know, I think, honestly, I can't remember now. It was just a blur. I think so. Anyway, the next day was a jolly. So the techs all got to go and do the Sydney bridge climb, which was awesome. 1,400 and something steps. I didn't do the Sydney bridge climb, and there was a couple of others that didn't either. I won't say older chaps, but I had other stuff to do. I had some really important pending admin work and emails and phone calls and stuff to deal with, real-time problems, which really overruled climbing up a bridge, to be honest. They had a great time. I got all my work caught up, had a nice coffee and some breakfast somewhere. Can't remember where it was. And then we all met up for the afternoon. We went to the Waxwork Museum, actually, in the afternoon after we'd had lunch. Went to the Waxwork Museum, Madame Tussauds in Sydney. I must say it's not as good as the one in Auckland. Sorry, in London, to be fair, but it was pretty good. Bit of a laugh, and from there went to a restaurant, had a really nice meal. Pretty posh meal, actually. Again, pretty rich food. Yeah. And then got back to the hotel, the zoo, where you can stay. You're not staying with the animals, by the way. It's nice accommodation. And then up early in the morning to get on a bus to get to the airport to fly back to Auckland. So it was very much a full-on week. It really was. And you can tell by my voice, I am pretty knackered, to be honest. Got home yesterday at 12, and I was sat in front of my laptop at my workstation, editing a video before 1 o'clock. And I didn't finish till about 3:45. Just let you know, there's a video going out at 10 a.m. today. In 1 hour and 14 minutes, you'll have a video. How cool is that? So yeah, been working pretty hard. Mrs. Mechanic will still be in bed because I haven't got a coffee yet. Hint, hint. Who else have we got? Right, going back. Bum, 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 bum. Richard Perry could be Roland the Rat. I think it could be. I mean, it's got very cold the last few weeks. Frosts and so on. So all these little rodents and things are starting to try and find warmer places to live. And my workshop seems to be one of the favourite venues. The Giant. Good evening, Andy. How are you doing? Pretty knackered. In actual fact, this morning, when my alarm went off, I normally get up at 7 o'clock, right? When I'm on a live stream morning, I get up at 7. It's not too bad. This morning, I set my alarm for 7:15. I thought, nah, I'll make it work. I'll just smash it out, get the workshop cleared up, all the bikes, and get set up. I got set up with 2 minutes to spare. You probably noticed that the thumbnail went out a bit late for the live stream. Yeah, I only just made it, honestly. I didn't have time to make a coffee. So there you go. Yeah, pretty knackered. What am I going to do today? I really don't know yet, to be honest. Mrs. Mechanic needs some help in the house, in the office, doing she's got an application letter to put together, I think. I've got another video to edit, so I might do that today. I am off work tomorrow, which is really good, so I might come in the workshop tomorrow. I've got some more videos lined up to do, so tomorrow will be a better day to do filming, I think. Today will be a better day to do office work and just sort of recover. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm back at work. Friday, I've got off as another day in lieu. Friday, incidentally, in New Zealand, was a bank holiday. And of course, I was working on the Friday, so I get a day in lieu for that. So that's going to be Monday. And then I worked Sunday afternoon to get to Auckland. And of course, Saturday morning to get back home. So that's another day in lieu. So that'll be Friday of next week. So only a 3-day week for me, nice and short, good long weekend again, and then I should be all sorted. And I think the following week I'm either in Auckland for the week or I'm up north. I can't remember which it is yet. I haven't checked my diary for a while, so and everything's still a little bit fluid, so things might still change. Simon, who has it that set the faults? Who was it? We have a dedicated training team in Australia, based in Sydney at the YMA offices, run by Carl. He's the head, and then there's 2 lads, Christian and Greg, and they prepare everything. It's actually quite difficult to implement the faults on the bikes for diagnostic, where there's a lot of criteria you've got to take into account. Is it something that the tech has been trained on? First of all, there's no point in really testing them on something they haven't been trained on. The tasks often cover new systems that and features that gizmos and gadgets that have been put on the bikes in recent years. The one on my bike was very recent indeed. But you've also got to consider how much they've got to dig into the bike. Because of that, they try to reduce or minimize the mechanical aspect of the task, physically removing stuff and because obviously we've only got a very short period as the rep, as the judge for that task, to put the bike back together again. So you've got all that to take into account. And it's actually very difficult because the tasks are essentially they're held in motorcycle bays, and you've got a a false wall, one of those little temporary barrier things between you that's about 7 foot high. So visually, the any other text in the area can't see what that particular tech's doing on your task, but they can hear. So you've got to also try and have a task where the judge can observe um, the majority of the task to provide to score. Um, yes, you can ask questions as a judge, and I often do ask questions, and I'll sometimes even, I mean, on this particular one of the little things that I did was that they're given a task sheet, and there's a scenario on there. Customer brought the bike in. It's these are the symptoms, blah blah blah. And about maybe 10 minutes into the task, I will then ask the technician to recant the scenario. What was the customer complaint? Because I want to make sure that that's at the forefront of their mind when they're doing the diagnostic, and they haven't sort of forgotten and gone off on a tangent. I don't prompt them. I just say, hey, can you just remind me, please, or explain to me what the customer complaint was? And they get scored on that because it's important to listen to your customer and to remember that during the diagnosis, because there can be little tiny hints in that scenario which can really help to steer them, and give them a clue as to what the problem could be to narrow down and focus. It is very difficult to ask questions, and that's another reason why I ask at the end, once all the other techs basically have gone off to go and recover. Yes, it makes the task a little bit longer for them, and they get less time to clear their head. But it's an important aspect is to review what they've done, because there are points that can be gained from that. But it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Where do we get to? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Jack Nike or Nike. What? No bungee jumping? No. No. Why would you want to jump off a perfectly good bridge? Honestly. Simon. That good, Andy. Looking after the customer. Without them, you don't have bikes to work on. That's exactly right. Uh, Manufacturers these days are extremely strong and focused on customer service, and doing the very best that you can for the customer. Um, you know, Even through goodwill warranty, if there's an issue which, you know, as the warranty adjudicator, I suppose you'd call them, full well that the fault isn't as a result of manufacturing defect, but it's something which, has caused a lot of stress to the customer. It's not really down to their fault, or intentional. Then you can step in and assist. And also, the more recent the launch of that model to market, the more you can help protect the brand image, so to speak. So you can go that extra mile to help the customer. Once the model's a few years old, then it becomes, your limitations. You've got a lot less ability to help, especially when the manufacturer warranty is expired. You've only got maybe a 12-month period where you can apply a goodwill warranty. This is for road bikes and stuff. After that, it gets quite difficult to get it over the line, without sticking your neck out so much. And whatever I do, it is audited. I am held accountable to my decisions, and it's sometimes you find yourself in a really difficult situation. You want to help, but sometimes you just can't. Other times I'll escalate it to management and get their take on it, see what they think, and that helps to sort of, sometimes they'll come back and say, yeah, we can do this, and it's like, okay, I've got your approval, that's great. JJ, when you set the faults, do you push pins out of the connectors or swap parts out with known faults? Both, actually. it can be a wiring fault, so you can de-pin, cause a particular wire to be open circuit by doing that. Sometimes I remember there was a task a few years back where it was pretty sure it was an MT03, only running on one cylinder, wouldn't idle, and they'd injected super glue into one of the injectors. So of course it had gummed up the armature. Armature wouldn't move, injector wouldn't open, hence the problem. And I remember, oh, and one thing, it's very important as a judge, what we're looking for is the correct method of diagnosis, using the correct tools, using the diagnostic tool to look for fault codes, that kind of thing. And obviously in that case, you wouldn't have got one because the circuit was still integral. Now, on that particular one, I think I just started it with Yamaha, and the Carl was saying, okay, so what's wrong with this bike? We didn't know what was wrong with it. And I was going around it and I'm like, okay. Well, you could probably, because I think the airbox was already off, because again, they've only got so much time to do the task. And we wouldn't have had time to refit the airbox every time. I just got a screwdriver, a long screwdriver, put it to my ear, and listened at it against each of the two injectors to see if you could hear them opening and closing, the tick, 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 And sure enough, one of the injectors wasn't working. And that would have taken, 60 seconds to diagnose the fault. But if a tech had done that, they wouldn't have got maximum score. I mean, sure, they'd have identified the fault, but they wouldn't have demonstrated their abilities to follow the set diagnostic procedure, because it may well not have been that. It could have been something else. It could have been a broken wire to one of the injectors. So it's important that they demonstrate a logical process of diagnostics, and not just shoot from the hip. I did actually have one of the techs find the fault on task 9, but not show me a clear path to how they got to it. They were just checking around the ECU, and they through a visual check, they spotted a wire that wasn't where it should have been. So they found the fault, which was great, but they didn't really know how the charging system worked on that particular bike. They just spotted a wire that was out of place, which is fine, but it's each task is an opportunity for the tech to demonstrate their thought process. That's the way to think about it, not just fix the problem. Simon, I'd pop a resistor in the loom somewhere on the ABS lol. There was a bike, task 8, I think it was, that we'd done exactly that. And the resistor was put on the ECU given ground for the sensors. And it threw the sensor signal readings on quite a number of the sensors way out. Did anybody find it, or identify a point of high resistance in that circuit? I don't think any of the techs got that far. I can't quite remember because I wasn't involved directly with that task, and we didn't do the debrief at the end, which would have been nice, but we ran out of time. But Simon, yes, that proved to be a very, very difficult fault, and one that does, it does replicate a fault that can happen very easily on a bike like that. A few years down the line, when the little green crusties start, if it was an adventure bike it was on, and they go through lots of rivers and water and that kind of stuff, and down the beach. So it was a very applicable fault on that particular model. Larry Cox, hello everyone. Windsor, Ontario, Canada here. Well, good morning, Larry, and welcome to the Andy Mechanic live stream. I'm pretty knackered at the moment. I've just finished the Tech GP that Yamaha run, the Oceania round. That was held in Sydney, and a fantastic event. And I mean, a real tribute to Yamaha for putting on such an amazing few days for the technicians. I mean, it's a real privilege for the techs that get to that stage, and they are treated like royalty, during the week. They really are. It's really good to to have technicians there from your country and to help support them through that week. Some of them get pretty nervous. It's quite a daunting experience. Once you've done one, it's not too bad. If they go back and do a second one, then they're a lot better prepared. But if it's the first one that they've done, they don't know what to expect. It's pretty nerve-wracking, in all honesty. So you've got to try and keep them on track and tell them not to stress too much, not to worry. Just do your best. Try and keep a clear head. And just imagine it's a bike that's come onto your workbench in your workshop, and just imagine you're in your own little workshop in your happy place, and that helps to take some of the stress away. I give them a briefing at the start. It's not about, the whole thing isn't just about finding the fault. It's about the process that you took to get there, and break it down into little steps, and think methodically, and that really helps them to clear their mind and focus on what's important. Simon, push the sensor voltage high. Good one. It did. That's right. Larry Cox, I own a 1984 Honda Big Red. Awesome bike. Enjoyed your videos working on them. Yes, I was very fortunate actually to be loaned that old Honda quad bike that came in about a year ago now. It would have been maybe a little bit longer. Good little bike. A really solid example of an old Honda ATV, and it's going to be that was given actually to a friend of mine by another farmer when he passed away. It was left in his will for him, and it's gone to a really good home, and it's going to be well looked after and just not trashed. A lot of ATVs get trashed. That one's going to last and be treasured for many years. So it was good to have a chance to work on it and to fix a few little faults and give it a good service. So thanks, Larry. Hey, Sheldon. Morning, Sheldon. Welcome back to the workshop, matey. I bet it's cold in Ombro at the moment. It's bloody freezing up here. Hi, Andy and crew, says Sheldon. Big clappy hands. Thanks, Sheldon. Yes, I made it back from Sydney. I don't enjoy flying at all, and it was a big ass plane that we're on. I forget the model, 777 or something it was. I don't know. And probably a Boeing, I think it was. And but I could be wrong. And funny thing is, when I checked in to fly back from Sydney to Auckland, you go to the little check-in machine, scan your passport. Yeah, this is me. Da, 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 da. And it said, "Ooh, your seat is next to the emergency exit. Are you okay with this?" And I'm like, well, first out, all good. Could be a bonus. And then it went on to say that I'm now required to assist everybody getting off the plane if there is an accident, because I'm next to the emergency exit. Are you happy with doing that? Are you fully competent in doing that? And I'm like, are you going to pay me? Are you putting me on the staff for the trip? I mean, I can do that, but, self-preservation, get off quick, not hang around for it to blow up while you're in it. So I'd never had that before, and I was like, well, what do? You got to click yes, right? I need the boarding pass. So I did that. So the whole trip I was sat right next to the door, one of the doors, the emergency exits on the plane. And it was a bit unnerving actually, because about halfway through the flight, this youth, I don't know, early 20s, obviously he was what looked like waiting to use the toilets, and there was a bit of a queue. And he was looking at this emergency door, and it has this big handle on it, right? Big aluminum handle. And he's looking at this big handle, and he's looking at the door and sort of, really studying it quite a bit. And I'm sat there going, and the first thing that jumped through my mind is he going to try and open the emergency exit? Is he a bad person? Because he was really close to it. It was maybe only, his hands are only like 6 inches away from the lever. And he keeps looking around, see what's going on, and then moves back towards the door again. I'm thinking, holy crap, this could be it, Anyway, as it turned out, he was obviously just curious, and then off he went into the loo and went to go and sit down. But just that momentary period of time in my head, I'm thinking, shit, is this it? Is this how it ends? Do I get up and tackle the lad? I mean, and all the flight attendant people that were around here serving drinks and stuff, seemed completely disinterested. They had no idea that he was taking that much interest in the emergency exit. But I was sat there going, holy crap, this could be it, you know. Funny, but probably not funny if it had happened. Larry Cox took to a local shop for an old... Hey, hang on. There's somebody at the door. Jesus Christ, that scared me. Mr. Ratty. Oh. I'll come in. Hold. Oh my word. I'll get the pipe for this. Thanks, man. Alright, cheers. Ooh. Right, we've got a coffee. Thanks, honey. And we have a pie. We're not going to score it. I'm too tired for that today. But it's one we've done anyway. Steak and cheese. So let's get it in the pie warmer. My phone's still telling me that it's the wrong orientation, but I can see on the screen it's the right orientation. So come on, YouTube, fix the glitch. Right, here we go. Bake Shack steak and cheese. I've had one of these, well, plenty of these in the past. A square pie. Structurally integral. Look at that. Pretty good, actually. Okay, we'll turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Let's go and load the pie. And I can have a drink of that iced coffee because I am freezing in this workshop. Okay, pie in the warmer. It's out of the fridge, so 23 minutes will work just fine. Oh, incidentally, I have one of these every now and again. They're actually quite nice, but some of them can be really, really sweet. So it's emergency food for the workshop. Okay, anything else to show you? I don't think there's anything else to show you, to be honest, at the moment, because I've done nothing since the last live stream, really, apart from make a couple of videos. One of which you'll see shortly. Right, turning around. There we go. Move the camera to where it needs to be. Okay. Cheers, everybody. It feels really nice to be back in my workshop. I just wish it was a little bit warmer. I didn't get time to bring the heater in this morning, so it's chilly. Oh, that's so good. Okay, back to the comments. Larry Cox took to a local shop for an oil change. Shop said, "This thing is 40 years old. Get a new one." I said, "What for? There's nothing wrong with this one." Exactly. And I think nowadays, more and more people are coming to the realization that new cars, or cars of the last few years' production, are a lot more expensive to run, a lot more expensive to service, and a lot less reliable. And there is definitely a growing number of people purchasing, getting rid of their new car and going back to something from like, the 90s, early 2000s, because they're simple and they're a lot cheaper to fix. They have things called bulbs, not LEDs, LED lights and stuff, which are cheap to fix. Sorry, just scrolling back. You guys have been busy, which is good. It's nice. Yes, the older quad bikes as well, so much simpler, so much easier to fix. Sure, they're maybe not quite as powerful and the ride quality is not quite as good, and maybe they use a little bit more fuel, but they're so strong, they're so durable. They'll do a lot of work before they start to demonstrate faults and wear out as well. Everything's built to a price these days, and back then they tended to build things as good as they could, whereas now most vehicles are built to a price. Very competitive. JJ, good on you, Yamaha. Usually it's only the salespeople that get spoiled by tech companies. The Tech GP, there's huge budgets, and the World GP is going to be in, I think it's November this year, and that's going to be massive. For the first time, Carl was saying, for the first time ever, the YMC, which is the Yamaha Japan, the mothership, their marketing team is getting behind the Tech GP. In the past, it's been a very just sort of run within service, but they've got they're planning to have a lot of influencers come in. They're going to really hit the social media platforms very hard, and the reason for that is to really try and encourage the next generation of technicians to come into the industry, because globally we're seeing a shortfall. You know, there's less and less people interested in basically doing what we do. It's not a glamorous job. There's an awful lot of learning involved now, a lot of training, and in reality, you can earn just as much doing a much more basic job. You've got to have a passion for this industry to really justify in your own mind why you're in it. I've been saying to Ben for years, don't be a mechanic. And I hate saying it to him, but I think he can do a lot better for himself doing something else. And recently he swapped jobs. I can tell you this now, actually. So Benjamin, when we came to New Zealand, I first got a job at a bicycle shop called Bike Barn. They've closed down since then because they were bought out by another company, and then that company got bought out, and it was a bit of a palaver. But for the first sort of year, 18 months, I trained as a bicycle mechanic. And I did that because I wanted to learn a new skill. I wanted to do something completely different. And just, I thought, oh, this will be easy. You know, it actually isn't. It's actually quite complicated. Bicycles are very different to work on than cars. And especially modern bicycles are pretty technical. And now, of course, we've got e-bikes. And after about 6 months of working there, Ben was ready for getting a job. And he said, can you put a word in? And sure enough, he got a job. He was, again, they find it hard to find good technicians. Ben, he was only 15, and he's good on the tools. He'd helped us a lot in the UK, and he'd learned a fair bit. And he was very good at learning stuff. And he's got a really good mind, technical sort of mind for fixing things, coming up with ways of fixing stuff. And he worked in the bicycle industry here in New Zealand for 15 years. He really put the time in, and he was very well respected amongst his peers and the various companies that he worked for. And there was very rarely a bike that he couldn't fix. He always got the job done. Sometimes he'd use second-hand parts if the customer didn't have a good, couldn't really afford to fix it with new parts. He'd always put the customer first, which was fantastic. But he's 30 now, and I said, look, maybe you need to look at something a bit different. Anyway, this job came up for a company called Red Book. I don't think I'd heard of them before. Maybe somebody had mentioned them to me at some point. And Red Book, their role as a company is to compile specifications on vehicles, whether it's four-wheel drives, cars, all this kind of stuff. And it goes into a database, and that database is then sold to insurance companies and so on. Ben will tell me a lot more about his role as he gets to grips with it. But this was his first week in his new job. And, he knows a lot about motorcycles, e-bikes, cars. I think they even do ATVs and that kind of stuff on their insurance for the insurance companies. So they cover specs on those. I think there's somebody else that does boats. There's a lot of boats in New Zealand. And it's a job that he can work remotely, which is fantastic. It means he can come down here for a few days and he can work out of the office when I'm away. Or he can use Mrs. Mechanic's desk if I'm here. There's lots of options now for him. He has to be in Auckland 1 day a week, which is Wednesdays. So it's cut down a lot on his travel through the Auckland traffic. He's getting better paid. He's using his brain a lot more. He's not getting his hands out getting cut to shreds working on bicycles anymore. I think he's going to also enjoy being on the tools more for his own personal time, fixing his motorbikes and things, rather than having to be on the tools all week fixing bicycles for somebody else. So congratulations, Ben. Well done. I think you've done a fantastic job getting that, securing that position. And, I'm very confident it's a role that he'll grow into, and he'll thrive in it. And he'll be in it for a pretty long time, in all honesty. And my cigarette's gone out. Bear with me. So no, he's done extremely well. Very, very. He's got a proud dad right here. He really has. John Nuttall, 2-day event, Dave Day 2025. Over 20,000 bikers ride into Barrow today in the UK. Wow. That has become a fantastic event, hasn't it? Good on you, lads. I wish I could be there to join in, to be honest. Maybe one day. Who knows? Simon. John Nuttall. Missed it this year. Was it good? Still happening. So it'll be on Facebook. There'll be loads of videos on Facebook, I'm sure, and Instagram and stuff. So we'll have to check those out. Simon, you did it this year? You do it this year? Question mark. Gary Fargo. Andy, I'm here. I am. I'm running on about, I would say, about 14% battery power at the moment. Simon, done 200 miles on the bike for an ice cream instead. It's not about so much about the destination, it's all about the ride. And as a motorcyclist, I often found myself looking for an excuse to get on the bike and go somewhere. And often, it'd be fish and chips in Whitby or whatever. You just jump on the bike. And I used to enjoy the back roads, and just disappear off and stay off the main roads, gravel roads, that kind of thing, green lanes. Not too challenging, but something that which you could do. I'd often jump on one of our quad bikes with Ben. I'd go and pick him up from school on a quad bike. We used to have a couple of Polaris Sportsman X2s, and in the summer months I'd jump on one of those if it was available, and I'd ride from home to Whitby, which is a good half an hour ride through the forest. Used to go the back way over the moor, pick him up from school, drop into Whitby, get fish and chips, and then we'd come home. Usually in the dark. It was bloody cool. We had a lot of options, and to be picked up from school on a quad bike, pretty cool, right? And in the winter time, turn up in the Unimog. Ben lived a good life in the UK. He really did. Great fun. Sheldon, you need your Andy Mechanic jacket on. I do. I really should have put it on. But again, I just ran out of time. I was so late this morning. It was unreal. Connor K, those doors can't open because the higher air pressure inside the aircraft, low pressure outside, holds the door tight, even if the handle's pulled. Well, I wish I'd known that at the time. I was shitting bricks. I really was. I was for a good 60 seconds. I won't say in panic mode, but I was very concerned about the whole thing. So thank you, Connor. You've put my mind at rest. Richard Perry, anybody do Dave Day today? Dave Day today another year? Yes, you should do. And did they? John Nuttall, Simon Roll. No, I went to Leeds. A damn hot day for me today. Wow. Yes, I believe the UK is experiencing some pretty hot weather at the moment, isn't it? 34, 35 degrees C for the UK. It's pretty damn hot. So, what's my plan for this week coming? Well, it's changed. So Thursday, I have to go to Rotorua. Now, Rotorua is about 45, 50 minutes drive from here, so it's not too far. It's just down the road for me, really. And we've had the dealer, the motorcycle shop in Rotorua that I deal with, has changed hands. It used to be called Patron O'Connor. It's now called Bradley's. And nice lad, Liam. Young lad, actually, for a lad that runs a motorcycle shop. He's pretty young. But he seems very switched on, very, very motivated. And already he's made quite a big difference in the sales side of things. They've sold a lot of bikes since he took over. But I've got to get down there now that the Tech GP's out of the way. I've got to get down there and do some service training with him and with his staff. Fortunately, most of the staff has stayed the same, although he's really pushing hard to bring the workshop up to scratch. In recent years, they've really struggled for technicians in that area, for quality technicians. And he's really, which is really good to see a dealer principal doing this and having the foresight to understand how important the workshop is to a motorcycle shop. That's your bread and butter. That's where you make the money, and all the other departments feed off the workshop. You get a good customer, and you cultivate that customer through your workshop, and they come back for regular servicing, and you build up a good working relationship, irrespective of the brand that they've got, they're going to want to deal with that dealership. So they're going to start to purchase brands that dealership sells. So they become your customer for life. That's the whole idea. And customer service is paramount to building that working relationship. You've often got to go the extra mile to help them out and try and instill some kind of relationship, with you and the customer. They have problems and they want you to fix them. And you've got to, oh my word, jeez, got me going again. Oh, jacket. I got me jacket now. God, she's good. Thanks, honey. Wow, it's foggy out there, isn't it? Oh, she is good, isn't she, eh? Look at that. You've got your jacket on now. Holy moly. I haven't worn this for a while. Now, just while we're talking, I did plan on doing a live stream in Sydney while I was there, but oh yes, that's better. But unfortunately, there was no time. There was no time at all for me to do a live stream. There was no suitable location. Now, the only time that it popped up potentially was when they were doing the bridge climb. But in all honesty, I was working for my employer at the time. And I don't think it had gone down too well for them to see Andy doing a live stream while he's at work, in work time. So, I planned to do it on an evening somewhere, whilst having a beer. That would have been fine. But during the working day, it wouldn't have gone down well. So, my apologies. I sort of gave you a heads up that I was going to do one, but it just turned out not to be possible. The evenings just didn't work. The hotel we were staying at, the Atura, had pretty crap internet. The hotel at the zoo, the accommodation at the zoo, had terrible internet, which was weird because it was such a posh place. But even phone signal, getting texts and stuff, was pretty poor out there. It was in a really, sort of bush area, down to the waterfront, so it wasn't very populated. It was remote. Even though it was Sydney, it was quite remote. There wasn't a lot of infrastructure there. Oh, that coffee's good. It's getting cold pretty quick though. Where do we get to? Went to Leeds. So it was really hot in Leeds. Okay. Simon, 7 mile starch. 7 mile starch from Pooley Bridge to Glenridding. Lovely bit of a road to ride. Full of slow drivers today. Lots of. I understand what you're saying, Simon. They're a nightmare out there. They go out and practice. This is the problem. Sunday drivers out practicing. Bit of a nightmare. So I'm not sure you meant to type start. I'm sure it means you meant to say 7 mile ride. 7 mile ride. John Nuttall, hot in the UK, yes, but ski season now open in South Island. Where are you, Andy? I bet it is. It's bloody freezing down there. I'm not down to the South Island for a fair few months now. All going to plan. I might get called down to do some kind of field research or to help a dealer with some kind of diagnostic problem that they've got. But unless that happens, I won't be down until probably November. I think I've got it scheduled for November. So I've got October off, as you know. And I think as soon as I come back to work, I'll be straight down to the South Island. So I've got to get all my North Island motorcycle shops visited before I go on holiday. Or go on leave, should I say. So it's going to be pretty full on. This year is a very busy year for me because I'm taking those 4 weeks off. It's a big chunk to take off. There's nobody else that's going to be able to step in and cover for me unless they take somebody else on. I don't think that they keep saying they might get someone to help me, but but it's been going on for years and nothing's ever happened. I think they find it very difficult to find someone that's prepared to do what I do. I'm not saying I'm indispensable by any means, but it's just hard to find somebody that's prepared to do the travel, put the effort in, have the knowledge base, and just put the hours. Really, it's quite a disruption to life, really. Sheldon, less ranges for the sales guys, and another Andy. Pretty much, I mean, the job that I have has definitely got more demanding over the years. There's more going on. We've seen, like I was saying earlier on, YMC's definitely recognising the issue of good, well-trained technician shortage globally, and it's not just Yamaha. It's all brands. It's automotive industry and motorcycle industry, and probably the marine industry as well. It's techs across the board are in short. They're in very high demand, and there's just not enough of them to go around, which is the problem. Um, it, it's important that we help. We do all that we can to try and encourage the next generation of techs to come into the industry. But there's so much to learn. It's not like when I started tinkering, and teaching myself and working on motorbikes and stuff. Back then it was a lot more simple. The vehicles were a lot more simple than they are now. So for a new tech coming on board, they've got to learn all of that and catch up. They've got to learn everything that I've learned over the years in a very short space of time. And it's almost impossible, to be honest. It's so hard. And it becomes overwhelming, and we don't pay them enough. Too hard, don't get paid enough. Crappy workshops, cold, wet, damp, snowy, whatever it is. And they often think, well, I'd rather do something else. You know, it's a shame. It really is. Simon, been trying to lay my hands on a 70s Yamaha tester for years. One popped up on eBay yesterday. Ooh, very good. Nice. A Yamaha tester. Right. I read that as Yamaha. A Yamaha tester. Very good. One thing I'm trying to get hold of, I've been looking around for years as well. We have one at Unitech. It's called a growler. I did. There's not many available. There's not many around New Zealand. They're very heavy, so they're not easy to bring in from another country. The freight will be horrific. But they're for testing armatures. Really cool tool, actually. And I will find one eventually, but at the moment, that's one of the little things on my list that I'd like to have in my workshop, because it'd be great for the videos, great for testing, very quick for testing armatures and things. Sheldon, governments haven't supported trades, even from high school level. They don't. They absolutely don't. The governments, I remember at Unitech, it was around the time where the Auckland Council, the City Council, announced, what was it, 50,000 new homes, okay, for Auckland, because there was a housing shortage. This was probably my second or third year at Unitech, and the whole focus and all the investment, and they got huge grants from the government to push the trade training for electricians and plumbers and joiners. I say joiners in the loosest possible sense. Basically, someone that could fire a nail gun. That's pretty much what it was. They're only building sheds in my book. They've never learnt bricks and mortar, that's for sure. All the focus was on that, and there was zero focus on building the automotive department and giving us resources which reflected the more modern vehicles. We were using stuff that was 20 years old. We were teaching stuff that was 20 years old. I mean, I was in my comfort zone because I knew it all. It was easy to me. They tried to bring in at one point, and this was before I started. They got given or they bought. I don't know how they got it, but they had a Prius, Toyota Prius hybrid car, But they got the car, but they wouldn't send any of the lecturers on any training to learn about how the car worked properly and how to work on the car, official training through Toyota, which we had access to, but they never paid for doing it. And then there became, as lecturers, we would have had to have got our ticket, our certification to work on the high voltage parts of the car. And again, they weren't prepared to do that. So the car, honestly, it sat outside under the trees and just basically fell apart. It was such a waste, a wasted opportunity. Was that what that was? Diabolical, really. So no, Unitech. And to be fair, a lot of the buildings now that I worked in have all been torn down and the land was sold for housing. And they built one massive, almost like a warehouse, like an open plan warehouse for all the trades. They cut down immensely the resources that we used in the workshop. So the workshop time for the course was dramatically reduced. And so the students would I never taught in that new building. They started to use it the year after I left, but the students got a lot less time working on cars, a lot less time working on components, and a lot more of it was theory, and it was crap, to be honest. And another reason why I decided to get out. It was just not a place for me anymore. I wasn't happy with it. Machine NZ Kevin. Morning, Andy and team. Good morning, sir. Hope all is well. I bet it's cold where you are. Simon, Unitech not selling it. Unitech they were in decline even when I was there. They were struggling for income. They started to do unit standards courses for schools, and officially, if you're going to teach school children, then the lecturers, or the teachers, and they asked me to do it, had to have police checks done to teach these students, and Unitech didn't get the police checks done. Because they cost money, right? Also with unit standards, for a student, this is how it is in New Zealand, for a student to pass a unit, they have to achieve 100%. The first group of students that I hadn't taught them, I was just asked to mark the papers. So I marked them like I would any other student. And there was a range of marks. Some failed, some passed, did okay, and some did really well. And I handed the marks back, and my boss said, "Well, that's not going to work. They all have to pass." I said, "Well, they can't. It's impossible." Some of them have answered a lot of the questions wrong, and well, no, you need to bring them back in and go through the question paper, do a new question paper with them, and tell them the answers, so they can write them down. And it's like, what? You want me to do what? And so he explained it again. And I said, I'm not prepared to do that. That's cheating. I said, that's not going to happen. If only the students that have the merit, that are due to pass, that should pass, are going to pass. I'm not prepared to do that. So I refused to teach unit standards. So that was that. It was just a farce, to be honest. And I remember on the course that I taught, the CAT course, the student only paid a percentage of the course cost, and the rest of it was made up by government funding. But the Unitech only got paid the government funding if 80% of the students in that year's intake passed the course. So again, there was an incentive for Unitech to put pressure on the lecturers to make sure that at least 80% of the students passed. And, in my class, some of the students didn't pass, and sometimes we were below the 80%. And the problem was, it included students that had left the course during the year. So if you had a couple of students leave within the first 2 weeks of the course starting, I was already on the back foot, because they were included at 80%. So the whole thing was just messed up. It really was. It was all, about money, and it shouldn't be about money. John Nuttall, the tech moves on faster than the bike, but soon you'll be able to link remotely to Diag from 2,000 miles away. They already do that, here in New Zealand at least, and they have done for quite some time on the BMWs and Mercedes, where the technician in the Mercedes dealership connects the diagnostic tool, and then there's somebody at the factory will remote in and go through the diagnostic checks, remotely, and then they'll advise the technician, you need to put a new alternator on, or you need to change this part of the wiring harness, or this module needs to be changed, and then they'll reconnect the diagnostic tool and they'll do some more checks. So it's already there. Will it happen on bikes? I think it will happen on bikes eventually, yes, because the cost of training up the techs to the standards that we need these days for these complex vehicles is extremely high, and it's extremely difficult to get the techs up to that standard. Whereas if it's somebody or a team at the factory, it'd be a big team, but a team at the factory doing the remote diagnostics will be a far more efficient way of doing it. Sad, but they've got to put something in place that they know is going to work, or best chance of working. Kevin, at the end of the day, a car or a bike gets you from A to B. Science and environmental issues have taken over and produced vehicles way overcomplicated. We need to get back to basics. I couldn't say it better myself, Kevin. That is exactly what it is. They are just modes of transport. And unfortunately, I think there's also a lot of pressure from the marketing teams of these companies, for the engineers to give them gizmos and gadgets and features on these vehicles, for them to try and help sell them. And all that happens is year on year, more and more gizmos and gadgets get included in the design, which increases the complexity even further. And the problems they're having, the faults they're having with modern vehicles now is just ridiculous. There's so many components, there's so much wiring, that the chances of a fault occurring are so much higher. Simon, pie in yet? Yes, the pie is in, and it's just gone ping. Let's go and get the pie, because I'm starving. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Mrs. Mechanic, for the jacket, because it's definitely working. It's a big help. I was freezing. What a muppet not putting his jacket on. Right, we've got the pie. Dum 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 dum. Pie time. We'll stick him on there. Look, about the only clean place in the workshop. Okay. Is it going to focus? It is. Right. Now we've got to go in with this pie pretty quick because it's going to get cold really quickly. Simon, I think the mid-90s, when vehicles get to a point of reliability and comfort, was about right. I think you are right there. The old Toyota Corollas of the 90s were super reliable, weren't they? Nissan Patrols. The GR, I call it, but I think Ben calls it the GQ. The one, what we've got here. Not overcomplicated, super durable, strong, really strong. Now, I've been watching a YouTube channel recently, 4-wheel drive 24/7, Australian group. And I think the videos are quite repetitive. They're going on adventures and they get stuck and they have to winch and that kind of thing and they stay over somewhere. But they've just put a video out where they explain, and I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen the thumbnail, but they're explaining why older 4-wheel drives are so much better than the modern ones that are available now. And I've known that for years. You don't want a glitzy, shiny, low, complex, electronically complex, just like the Ranger that I had, just like the Isuzu I've got now, where you go. They were doing a Ford crossing that was 1.3 kilometers long, and the ranger just shit itself. Its electronics just went, you need to stop the vehicle now. You have to stop the vehicle. And the guy's like, I'm not stopping in the middle of a river. I've got to keep going. And you wouldn't have that problem with the old Land Cruisers and the old patrols. They just do the job. The modern stuff just can't hack it. Ooh, it's hot, which is good. Simon, I've done that one. The 1.6 TTDI engine loses the battery, will still run and get you home. You can with the patrols. You can actually, and the old Suzukis, actually, little Suzuki Jeeps, you could disconnect the battery and the engine would continue to run. I know that because I've done battery swaps, and I maybe I should have done that. It worked okay. Oh no, I made a cheesy mess. Oh God, I have made a real mess. Looks like my jeans and my jacket are going to go in the wash. Oh well, such is life. This is a nice pie, actually. It's been well welcome. I've been looking forward to it. So, bar going away on Thursday. I'm just doing admin work at home, in all honesty. I've got a lot more catching up. I've got loads of reports still to do. I didn't get many done before I went away. I was hoping to get a lot more done. I've got a lot of warranty work to do as well to catch up on. Basically, a lot of the stuff that I do has been put on hold for a week, and it's not good because it was already stacking up. I'm hoping to do a video tomorrow on the Black & Decker valve grinding tool. I don't even know if it runs yet or not. I'm just going to do a quick intro on it and an overview and check the belts and just see what works and what doesn't work, and then plan my attack as to getting it up and running, because it'd be quite a useful piece of kit in the workshop, all that. Oh. Jim, Mr. Haynes. Good morning, Jim. I'm late, but here did hit the like button. Super late race night last night, plus the trip home. 4:15 a.m. trying to catch up all day. Man, that's a late night, especially to be driving home. Mr. Nuttall, John Nuttall, had to update the bike sat nav that buggered up the tech at Garmin. Oh, the buggered up. The tech at Garmin said, sorry, cannot fix it, but offered me 30% off a new one. Gave it to a mate, fixed it in 20 minutes. It's so hard when you're out of your pay grade. It is. I mean, Garmin, don't get me wrong. I mean, I do like Garmin. I have a Garmin watch, which unfortunately needs a new strap, but it's in my drawer. But I also use that Garmin GPS on the DR200 trip, which got wet. I had it mounted on the bike. Mounted on the bike, and we got down to the Catlands near Balclutha. We'd had 3 solid days of rain. And prior to that, it had glitched a couple of times, but it kept on working fine. But down there, it just by the time we got into Invercargill, it was completely defunct. Wouldn't work. So I rang Garmin up and explained the problem, and they sold me one for, they said if I paid $250 New Zealand, they would send me a brand new one, which I did. They wanted the old one back, which was fine. It was totally useless to me, but they let me keep all the accessories that go with it. They just wanted the main tool back, but they sent me a full brand new one with all new accessories. So it was a win-win, really. But I sure as hell won't be putting the new Garmin on my motorcycle. Not unless it's inside a fully sealed box or something, because they're only supposed to be splash proof. I didn't realise that. I thought it was waterproof. But they have a little grill at the back for the speaker. And that's how the water got in. So, messed up. I was pretty upset, to be honest, because it was very expensive. I think it was nearly $1,000. Connor K. Click the like, everyone. Andy is tired on a Sunday morning, but still here keeping us from going mental. Andy's just enjoying his breakfast at the moment. I've almost forgotten about the live stream. So, at the moment, Mrs. Mechanic, this last week, she's been editing up quite a few workshop diaries videos. We've got really behind on those. I think there's 3 or 4 that she's doing. One of them, the first one that's to go out, covered a bit of the building of the retaining wall on the side of the workshop. And we filmed me digging out all the soil with Trevor the tractor. But unfortunately, we cannot find that footage anywhere. And I think I must have deleted it off my phone before I saved it all, which is most unlike me. But we can, it's really weird because Emma did some filming on her phone and we can see my phone on a mount filming. But the footage isn't there. So shit happens, right? You know, it's one of those things. So now that we know we haven't got it, that video can be finished off and can be uploaded. So there'll be another one going out next week at some point. Simon. Yet the Garmin Marine stuff is bulletproof. Yeah, I know. I don't know why they didn't make it. I mean, this is it the Adventure Pro? So I forget what it's called, but anyway, the one that I bought was specifically designed for 4-wheel drive application. And 4-wheel drives, you know, my kind of 4-wheel driving, they get wet on the inside and the outside. You know, when you go through rivers, the water comes in and it goes back out again, and it can be pretty damn deep. And it's certainly very moist. You know, the environment that you operate in quite a lot is wet. So why they didn't make it fully waterproof, I don't know. And it's only when you read the owner's handbook that it explains that it's not actually waterproof. The marketing of the tool, of the GPS, sort of leads you to believe that it is waterproof. And it's a bit frustrating. It caught me out. But I'm only human. So hopefully over the next few weeks, there'll be a few more of the workshop diaries going out. Sorry, Mr. China, stole your name. And Ben's coming down, we believe, next weekend. So I think he'll be here he might come down now I've got the Friday off. He might decide to come down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just don't know. But if he does, I'm pretty sure there'll be some more filming to do. And we'll be working on the engine out of my Patron. He's got some stuff to do to that first before it can be put into his. We can do the engine swap, which is going to be a big job. That's a big job for us, is that? Nearly another catastrophe. Holy crap. Okay, so we're about there, aren't we, really? I can't think of much else that I need to cover at the moment. We've pretty much run out of comments. We've been going 1 hour and 20 minutes, which is actually pretty good. There's a video about to go out in 11 minutes time, which is to do with the lithium-ion batteries. I got given an old, what was it, a power road? Oh, it's all gone to the bin now. There was an old battery tender video, an old battery tender battery, lithium-ion, and I think it was a power road, lithium-ion as well. And I wanted to see how they're configured internally. So in that video, we pull them both apart. We look at the cells, the BMS, the way that they're wired. And I got into it, so we started pulling one completely apart, and even one of the cells completely apart as well, just to see what was inside, and just how fragile those type of batteries really are. And there's a bit of a twist to it as well. So it's about an hour long. So sorry, I tend to ramble, but as you know, but the video's going out. There's another one which I've still got to edit up that I'll do today, which is window motor regulators. Oh, window regulated motors, sorry. One's out of a Patrol that failed. Ben had a go at fixing it. And the other one is the one that came out of the Mazda. So we pull those apart, have a look why they failed. Again, interesting, because I'm sure that the content will be helpful to some people out there. There seems to be a component that regularly fails on modern cars, and you can see why on the Mazda one. Pretty poor quality, pretty disposable design, and replacement new ones, complete motors, are pretty cheap. So, and I think you can even buy a rebuild kit for them as well through Mazda. It's pretty good. I really have made quite a mess today. Okay, crew, I'll leave you to it. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, stay safe and, well, be good. If you can't be good, be fast. See you around, crew. Cheers. Over and out.